The Conservative Party's national convention, which was supposed to take place in Calgary, is postponed. This, as the city deals with its widespread flooding. Alberta Conservative MP Michelle Rempel joins us live from Calgary. And Michelle, where are you physically located? Are you in our studios right now?
Yes, I am.
So have you had a chance to visit downtown Calgary and see what's happened?
Yeah, I've had a chance to survey some of the damage both to downtown and to my riding, which is just on the other side of the river on the north side. I have some communities affected as well, and it's quite extensive. Certainly the message that we're still trying to put out to people is just stay away from the affected areas. The danger hasn't immediately passed yet. We do know that the city wants to help and that people across the country want to help right now, and the main way that they can do that is by donating to the Red Cross.
Yeah, and we were talking to the Red Cross earlier in the day, and their attention isn't just Calgary, it's all across, as you point out,
right.
the region of southern Alberta.
That's right. I was talking to my colleague Ted Menzies, who represents a large area to the south of the city, and my colleague Blake Richards to the north with Canmore, Exshaw. These are areas that have just been devastated by this flood. But again, and I sound like a broken record here. What we've been trying to do is just to tell people to stay out of harm's way, but more importantly, stay out of the way of first responders who are still working on the scene, they're trying to get people back into their homes where evacuation orders have been lifted. We're still not out of that part of this disaster yet. The cleanup is to follow, and it will be a large cleanup. Certainly, there will be opportunities for people to volunteer, trust me. But right now, we're still in that phase, as you mentioned earlier in your show here, with the mayor saying, stay away from the river, let our emergency crews do their work, and we'll focus on the cleanup later this week.
Michelle, did it surprise you? Some of the response we've seen, for instance, is that people didn't necessarily go to shelters, they went to other people's homes. Yeah,
but that's Calgary. I mean, I've been talking this morning about, the scope of the disaster, but the real story here is the spirit that the city has shown through this. First of all, people obeyed the evacuation orders. People, like you said, people took friends, family, strangers into their homes during the evacuation. They still are. I was listening to some coverage this morning from the police chief who was saying that the level of break and enters in evacuated areas has been very, very, very low. I think one of the challenges that we have as a city right now is that we have so many people that just want to put their hands to something and start working. So it's sort of a frustrating wait, because you can see the flooding implications. You can see it with your own eyes, but the waters haven't receded enough in certain areas for us to start doing some work. So that we'll be converting to that stage as the week progresses.
Will you make it for the Stampede, do you think?
Oh boy, the Stampede is such an integral part of the city, not just because of its spirit, but because of an economic driver. And I know that the Stampede Board has been working around the clock to try and make it happen. What we're hearing from them is that they will try and go ahead with it. Obviously, it's a touch and go situation because the Stampede grounds, and I'm sure you've aired footage of this, were largely underwater for a good portion of the last few days. The water is starting to recede, but what I've heard people talking about is Stampede isn't just about the grounds, it's about the entire city. It's something the entire city participates in. A lot of us have pancake breakfast, barbecues, and the Stampede wants those to go ahead. My colleague Devinder Shori and I, for example, are going to have ours go ahead, but we're going to turn it into a fundraiser for the Red Cross. So I certainly hope that the Stampede spirit continues throughout the cleanup and that we can see that event happen.
Now, in the meantime, the Conservative Convention has been postponed, understandably. But what else is the federal government doing to help out?
Well, first of all, as I mentioned, we're sort of still in stage one of keeping people safe. When the situation escalated late Thursday, early Friday morning, we were on the horn with Minister Taves, the Minister of Public Safety, as well as Minister McKay, Minister of National Defence. We had RCMP presence. We had Cormorant helicopters out doing evacuation orders. I've been working I have to give a shout out to the Parks Canada team in Banff National Park. Many people don't realize that Parks Canada actually manages a lot of the infrastructure in Banff National Park, like the Trans-Canada Highway, which was severely affected. They've been working around the clock, so we've been, providing as much services as possible to assist with this part of the disaster, which is keeping people safe. As the cleanup progresses, Prime Minister Harper was here in Calgary earlier this week, and he talked about how we will be working in lockstep with the city and with the provincial government on the cleanup efforts where possible, and certainly we'll be in close contact. We are in close contact with them as that phase of this progresses.
Michelle, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your efforts, your personal efforts. I know you've been actively involved. Be safe.
Thank you.
Conservative MP Michelle Rempel in Calgary.